Hi there, it's Mary from Rivers Journey Wellness. I wanted to do a short video on the energy of the new moon in Leo and how to work with it. So if we haven't met, I blend psychology, energy healing, a little bit of astrology, and oracle readings with intuitive guidance so that I can help people along their personal growth path. This is what I find helpful for myself, and so I feel like if it's helpful for me, it might be helpful for somebody else. So for most of us, we had the peak of the new moon's energy yesterday. We were feeling it for a few days before, and we're going to feel it for a few days still to come. So if you haven't been able to do a new moon ritual or set an intention, you have time. If you're like, I don't even know what that is, I'll put a link at the bottom so you can get my free handouts on how to do a new moon ritual on your own or with your friends. I think there's benefit to it. I've enjoyed doing it for the last, like 6 years I've been doing this for myself. And then I started sharing it with clients as well, and they seem to like it also. So that was a really cool thing. But it's just something to be mindful of where energy is, what might be impacting us, and then also just keeping us present with what we're hoping to move away from in our life and what we're hoping to move towards. So I love following the lunations just for that reason. So the new moon in Leo, if you were following me last week or so on my live last week, it was all about clearing and balancing the solar plexus chakra, that Leo energy. It felt like I couldn't get my grounding last week. There was nothing that was happening in my life that was, too much to handle or a struggle, but nothing seemed to be going my way. I don't know what it was, or I didn't know what it was, until I started thinking about what I wanted to set my intention for this new moon. And then it was like, aha, the bulb went off. I was struggling a little bit last week with releasing something, finally letting go of something that I know wasn't serving me. At one point it was, but it was no longer serving me, but I was really resistant in letting it go completely. And so that makes it really hard to set a new intention when we're still holding on to stuff that is creating tension for us. So I have to laugh at myself. It happens to all of us, right? Where we're like, I don't know why life is so difficult. And then it's like, oh yeah, I'm creating some of that problem for myself. So the new moon is all about restarting, refreshing. It's about that new beginning. And that Leo energy is all about being big and bold and brave and courageous, really putting yourself out there, able to manifest the thing that you want to experience or have in your life. It's very abundant. But then there's also a little bit of wisdom of knowing like when to rest, when to play, when to be busy at work. So it's a really interesting energy. And I feel like sometimes we talk about it in such a way that it seems like it's all masculine energy. But like we talked about last week, if you were there, I could maybe put the link if anybody wants to do a little bit of clearing and balancing for your solar plexus. I can put the link from last week down below. But when we're talking about stuff that's just masculine, sometimes it can create problems for us, right? Because it's discounting the other part, the feminine energy that needs to also support that. So it feels like we're kind of moving it forward genuinely or authentically. And so I wanted to give you a little bit of insight into what sort of got stirred up for me yesterday, just in case you're feeling some of what I was feeling last week, if you're feeling it now. So I sat down to meditate yesterday on the new moon in Leo, and then I pulled some oracle cards just to have a little bit of clarity, a little bit of guidance for myself. And the first card I pulled was a goddess card, and I pulled the goddess Hera. She's the Greek goddess of alliances. So she is all about meaningful partnerships, supportive collaborations, alliances that not only serve me for my highest good, but for you and your highest good. So there's this mutually beneficial relationship that is so fabulous. And I think, for me and probably for other people, sometimes when we think about setting new intentions or putting ourselves out there in a way that's bold and courageous, it feels a little overwhelming, right? If I would have if I would have had that in me before, I would have already done it type of thing, right? And so it's not really in my nature to put myself out there. So really thinking about, okay, maybe that isn't the time. If it doesn't feel good for you, if it doesn't feel like it's inspiring for you to go out there and be your most courageous self, maybe it means that you're not meant to do that alone. Maybe you are meant to do it in collaboration or partnership with somebody else. And I want to kind of just throw out there that maybe this is a time for you to look into a relationship with a mentor or a teacher, somebody that can model for you the behavior or the growth that you want in your own life. So oftentimes we surround ourselves with people that are either at our level or a few steps behind. The people that are a few steps behind really aren't going to push us to grow. The people that are a few steps ahead are going to show us this is what you need to do to get to that next level. And so maybe this is a time to look at, do I want to have a mentor? Do I want to have a teacher? Not a guru, but do I want somebody to work in collaboration with so that I can grow, but then also that there's that benefit for them, whatever it might be. I think that's huge. The other piece that I love about this card is that even if we're getting into some sort of partnership, alliance, collaboration, we're not to discount what we know, our worth, and our value. So oftentimes we say to ourselves like, oh, this teacher, this mentor, they know so much more than I do. I couldn't possibly, contribute or bring anything of value. And it's so not true. So not true. I feel like you bring a fresh perspective. You bring your own experiences. You have your own gifts and talents that maybe that's not their strength or their strong suit. So you are going to bring something. You just have to feel confident in yourself of what you can bring to that relationship. Maybe that's where the courageous piece has to come in, right? Really feeling good about you and what you have to give to somebody else or give to a relationship. So I thought that was a really cool card to pick for this time. The other one that came, which if you know me or you've been following me, it was Dear Spirit. So the Dear Spirit is something important for me professionally and personally. And this one is bring a gentle touch. So again, when we think of that energy of Leo, sometimes it's a little bit, I'll just say it's like overly masculine, okay? And so this is sort of hedging that and saying, let's soften it. Let's be a little bit humble, have that confidence, know your worth, know that your value, know what you're bringing to the table, but bring it in a way that's humble. How can you express yourself? How can others hear your point or understand your perspective in a way that isn't loud and, divisive and all the things that we kind of see right now in this political climate? But, how can we bring that gentle spirit? Because if we can tap into that, we are going to feel more sure-footed. We're going to feel more confident. We are going to feel more grounded, rooted. And the nice thing is that we will be tapping into our intuition. And so we'll know, like, when is it time to rest? When is it time to play? When is it time to eat? When is it time to run? Whatever it might be. So when we're really putting value on what we're experiencing in our internal, whatever it's our mind, if it's our body, whatever our internal self is, or however you get that information for your intuitive self, it's going to be so much easier for you if you're tapping into that and you're able to then bring that forward as opposed to fear, lack, scarcity. So it was just so interesting to me that these were the cards that I pulled. I felt like if they were meaningful for me, they might be, again, meaningful for somebody else. So you can kind of work with that energy and see if that resonates for you. The other piece that I think is really interesting is I had that awareness that like, oh, I'm not letting go of something that, that needs to go. And you can sort of think about like, where in my life am I not letting go of stuff that needs to go, right? What have I been resistant Or what have I been worried about? Sometimes we feel like if we let this go, we won't have anything left for ourselves, or things will change too drastically and it won't feel the same, or whatever. We just want to stay stuck, right? And so if we release that, what is going to open up for us? And so I really want you to start looking at when we have a stuck point or we're struggling. We tend to focus on that thing. Our conversations, our energy, it's all about this thing, this stuck thing. If we move it over to what we want instead, what we want to experience or receive, it opens doors for us in a really gentle way, with that gentle touch of the deer, right? It opens it up. And so we want to shift that focus mindfully. So if I'm ready, am I ready to release this thing? If not, what has been coming up for me that's making it a struggle? And then look at, if I release this thing, what is going to open up for me? So that can be a really good journal prompt for you to write, or, think about, I guess, if you're not big into journaling. But then you can also start thinking about what is my higher destiny? What is my soul's purpose? This is really, this Leo energy is always asking us to bring our most royal self, right? So that would be like our highest self, our highest destiny. And the soul's purpose, it's there. We usually know what it is. If we quiet the fear, the noise, the distraction, we kind of know what our gifts and talents are. We know what we want to give to the world. We know what we want to receive from the world. So what is that? And if it feels like this is a struggle and I'm not really sure, maybe it's time for that mentor, right? Maybe it's time for that collaboration. Maybe it's time for that alliance for your highest good and theirs. So those are just a little bit of journal prompts that you can use. And then I just have a couple affirmations. The first one is, I am my own priority. So oftentimes we put our self-care on the back burner. We leave ourselves, we're last on the list. And this is a time where we really need to think about, what are my needs and how am I prioritizing them so they're getting met by me? So each day, you can think about setting an intention of what's my priority for myself today? And it can be something simple, like I want to get enough sleep, or I want to make sure that I eat all my meals, or I want to stay in contact with friends or family, or something like that. But it also might be something a little bit bigger, right? And depending on what our action steps are going to be, will kind of determine what that priority is. But we want to spend a little bit of time on that. For sure. And then, even an affirmation about I have the wisdom to know when it's time to rest, to play, to be creative, to live passionately, to be inspired, right? We want to be able to recognize that we have control over that in our own lives. Because oftentimes, I hear people say, oh, I can't, or that's not like me, or, I don't have any inspiration, or I'm not creative, or I don't have any passion. And I'm kind of like, you do. I see it, but I'm not sure why you're not seeing it. But they're just in a place where it's not visible for them. So take some time, get in touch with yourself and see, where do I want to live? How do I want to live my life passionately or creatively, or what does inspired living mean to me, right? It's going to mean something totally different to you than it is the next person. So again, you want to do something that feels genuine and authentic for yourself. And so giving yourself permission to kind of explore that. And the last affirmation, this is something from last week's solar plexus chakra clearing and balancing, but I love this. So I am the king and queen in my life. I love that. So you can kind of think about, how you want to play on that with those words or whatever, or those meanings or whatever feels inferred in that affirmation. But I thought that one was pretty powerful last week, and I think it's still pretty powerful today, because it not only do I have to be accountable and responsible for myself and the action that I'm taking within my own life, but it also gives me permission to make choices that are fully aligned with what I want, what I need, what I think I deserve. So, yes, to be the king and the queen of your own life. So that was just a little bit of information about the new moon in Leo. It was, like I said, kind of funny to me from the place that I was last week to the place that I am today. And, we just need to take a little bit of time, sometimes slow down the process and go within and see what comes up for us. So hopefully that was helpful. If you do feel like you want to explore a little bit more about that releasing part, because like I said, that was the thing that was sort of holding up the whole new intentions for me thing. I do have Sacred Circle this Sunday. We're doing releasing past pain so that we can have just inspiration in our life. So if you feel like that's something that you would like to think about or join, that's, again, probably in my bio and then on my website. You can check that out. Otherwise, if you think that I'm somebody that you would want to work with, feel free to reach out. Otherwise, I am wishing you a wonderful new moon in Leo, and I look forward to us connecting again.